EU-Japan trade deal does come into force today, and I'm joined now by Robert Carnell. Now, he's Chief Economist and Head of Research for the Asia-Pacific region with ING. Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Can you give us a little bit more context on this EU-Japan trade deal? How important is this for the EU? How significant is it?
Well, the EU think it's very important. They've been talking about the positives that they're expecting to get in terms of trade boost from this. It eradicates about €1 billion worth of tariffs every year. And the EU are expecting this to have a very substantial impact on increasing trade flows between the EU and Japan. And of course, that will, in their views, help to support the jobs that, as you mentioned earlier, are already being supported by a lot of Japanese companies working either directly in the EU or indirectly supporting suppliers to Japan.
As you're saying, this trade deal will remove €1 billion in duties. Can you just give us a little bit more of the specifics on what kind of exports will the EU benefit? You mentioned services, but what else?
Yeah, well, in the documents that surround this, a lot of the things they're talking about are actually the agricultural products, the processed foods, the things like cheeses, processed meats, all sorts of things that, I think if we think about Europe and its agriculture, you've got sort of Austrian special cured meats, you've got all the French cheeses. And one of the things that this deal does, of course, it gives a sort of geographical seal of approval to some of these products. You can't sort of start making Japanese feta, for example, Japanese Roquefort. That's going to be protected, all those sort of geographical rights. And likewise, from the European perspective back to Japan, Kobe beef, you won't be able to sort of copy a European version of that. So these are the sorts of things, as well as procurement, city procurement, that's going to be opened up to the EU. And one of the things which isn't really tariff related, but the sort of technical details, if you're exporting cars, you have to adhere to very complicated Japanese technical requirements. No, that's all being squared away as well, and international standards are going to be accepted.
And meanwhile, the German Chancellor Angela Merkel is heading to Japan this weekend to meet with her counterpart Shinzo Abe. And we do get the sense that they are pushing against this view of protectionism and becoming figureheads of multilateralism. Is that the impression you're getting?
Yeah, I think there's still a view in the EU and Japan and even China that multilateralism is the way forward. It hasn't really been the way that trade deals have been made in recent years. If you think about this, it's in effect a bilateral deal, but between a very large region and one single country. So is this bilateral or multilateral? But in any case, it gets rid of tariffs, and any movements in that direction would generally be seen by any reputable economist as a good thing.